You know what? I don't think I actually like model railways anymore. There's always something that happens to go wrong right when you want to use the damn thing. Or at least with me, it does. Does it happen with you? They're the things which really get on my nerves. Iron Horse Railways is proudly sponsored by SAWYER Models of Lee. There you will find quality new and used locomotives and rolling stock in all the major scales and gauges, from Z all the way up to O gauge. Place your order online through the website or visit the store in Lee Town Centre. You'll find the contact details in the comments section, and a big thank you to SAWYER Models for being our sponsor. I know it sounds like a bit of an exaggeration, but it's genuinely not. I mean, like a lot of you, I'm still working, I'm not retired yet. Unlikely that I ever will get to a point where I can actually retire, but that's another matter entirely. The problem that I have is that you spend a day slogging away at the grindstone at work, and you want to come home and use your model railway. You might just want to watch a train chase its own tail. You might want to do a little bit of shunting. You might want to do a little bit of painting, whatever, bit of scenic work, whatever it is that you want to get involved in. If it involves actually running trains, you've probably experienced some of these problems. I know I have. And it just ends up being so frustrating. And if you want to dedicate like an hour to it, something will happen and then that whole hour becomes trying to fix a problem. Or worst case scenario, one of several problems. So here we go. These are the ones that get on my wick the most. First one, your track has for some reason decided to lift. Now, this is probably more apparent when it's up in the loft and it's really warm and your track will bow and lift. But despite the fact that you are absolutely certain and sure that your track is level perfect, despite the fact you spent hours testing it with every single piece of locomotive rolling stock you have and every wagon you've got on carriage and all your awkward stuff, and it all works just perfectly fine, for some bloody reason, right when you want to come to use it, you'll find a piece of track has kinked or bowed. And then if you put scenic work down, it becomes this whole process of having to spray it with bloody water and lift it up. And of course, when you lift it up, that'll damage something else as well. You can almost guarantee it. That will pull something else up, and then that's it then. Your whole quick, I'll just bend it back into place thing has become a whole hour-long mission. And then you feel fed up, and then you can't be arsed running trains anymore, and then you can't actually run trains because everything's all wet and soggy, and electronics don't really go well with water. Ask me how I know that one. So yeah, track lifting up, inexplicably lifting up, even when it's not hot, really winds me up. One reason why modern railways suck. Number 2, mechanical failures, miscellaneous mechanical failures. Specifically things like dry solder joints, fish plates that have bent out of place. That could probably go back to the first issue as well, to be honest with you. A bent fish plate or a dry solder joint which you don't know where it is. And if you've got stale eyes fitted, and don't get me wrong, stale eyes are a fantastic piece of equipment. However, if your locomotive loses power here and stops there, that means you've got to locate the dry solder joint all along that section of the track, and that could be 6 foot. And it just ends up being another saga trying to locate where this mechanical failure's come from, this dry solder joint. And again, despite the fact you've had your iron really hot, 480 degrees or above or whatever, and you've fluxed it and you've tinned it and everything else, and it just ends up failing despite the fact you've done everything properly. And that can also lead to things like point motors misbehaving as well. Oh, the joy of point motors. Now, thankfully, the point motors that I use, the IP Digitals from DCC Concepts, there's actually a cracking bit of kit. So issues don't really raise their heads all that often. Setting them up's actually, thankfully, really simple. Well, simple enough anyway. But even then, if you're still going to get a slap from the little model railway gremlins that go, no, not today, big lad. We're going to properly mess you up now. And then you end up with things going awry. For example, go back to point 1, shall we? The track's bowed a little bit. It's lifted up. Not a problem at all. What you'll actually find is upon further inspection, once you've got all that sorted out and you come to your point motor because you fix your dry solder joint, what's actually happened is the little throw bar, the little bar, the fulcrum bar, which sticks up through the track into your point throw bar and makes the whole thing move. The track is lifted just just enough for that little bugger of a metal bar to fall out of place, and then it's moving underneath it, and the point isn't throwing. So then guess what you've got to do, boys and girls? You've got to start digging around again. You've got to lift the bugger up, and you've got to try and relocate it. Or you can get underneath it with your arthritic hips and your knackered back, and you can look up underneath it with your torch and your marker, trying to see under a dark baseboard, because you're convinced it'll be only a 5-minute job and I can just quickly nip under and get it done. But in actual fact, it's going to be an absolute fest of a problem to sort out, an absolute mind-boggling bender of a flaming problem to fix, because nothing is ever that simple. Nothing is ever as straightforward as it'll be a 5-minute fix. Don't you worry about it, our kid. No, the bars come out, the track's lifted up, it's a frigging nightmare. That's 3 things now to why model railways wind me up to the point of actual insanity. No, it's not. It's 2 things. It's 2 things so far. See, that's how mad it makes me. I can't even count anymore with the rage inside me. Number 3 is something is broken on your model railway layout, and you know this because your controller isn't working. Now, you're not getting any short circuit warnings, you're not getting any error codes on your controller, JMRI is indicating that everything works properly, but for some reason, not working whatsoever. You mere mortal. Good luck to you trying to find out why this thing isn't working. This several £100 piece of machinery has just decided to stop working right as you're about to sit down for a good old rousing session of running trains. No, 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 you fool, you absolute buffoon. Something's gone wrong, and it's up to you to find out what is flaming gone wrong this time. Is it 1, is it 2, or is it just general nonsense that has occurred and has caused you to have a stressful time rather than a relaxing one? Number 4, a locomotive or piece of rolling stock now for some reason has decided to start derailing, despite the fact that it's worked absolutely fine for the past 6 months on that exact same bit of track. Loads of different speeds and with different trains behind it. It works absolutely fine. Now you're going to get your little bottom down to eye level, and you're going to get your ruler out and your spirit level to make sure it's all perfectly flat and level and everything else. And you're going to check if it actually is flat and level, because what looks flat and level to you isn't quite flat and level enough for your £200 locomotive. So again, you can look at the previous issues we've had already in this video and try and figure out if it's one of them, and of course it isn't. So it's still derailing, but nothing else derails on that section of the track, just this particular wagon or locomotive. So then you get little bits of thin cardboard and you lift up the track just a little bit and you pack it out. Try and give a little bit of elevation. So as the wheels come round, the rails are bent up and it helps steer the locomotive around. Or you have to build a check rail and put a check rail in, which isn't a problem because check rails actually do serve a real life purpose and you do find them on the real railway, and technically speaking, even the 3rd radius curve is really tight. If you were to put that into a real life equivalent curve, it would be super tight. And none of the locomotives that we actually run will ever get round it in real life, so there is that to consider. So that might actually be a benefit, I suppose, because it gives you the opportunity to do a little bit of modelling, which may or may not be desirable at 8:30 at night after you've come home for a 12-hour shift and you're knackered and tired and depressed and the world's ending and everything else. Or it probably just hates you. Your little locomotive that you spent 250 quid on just absolutely hates you, or your wagon hates you, and it just doesn't give a flying fart about your feelings, what you need. It just doesn't want to work. So you flip it round. For some reason it works that way. Why? The wheel back-to-backs are perfect, the couplings are the right height, you've got rid of the tension locks, you've put them in the bin where they belong, and it still derails. Why is it still derailing? What am I doing wrong? Is it just me? Am I doing something wrong? Have I missed something? Why was I not there when they had the big meeting at Model Railways and why things should suddenly not work? Don't tell Craig, because he doesn't need to know this, but if you don't do this secret thing, your wagons will derail mystically for some strange flaming reason. Don't tell him though, he don't need to know. Now, another thing which really winds me up, and I need to stop this before I have a bloody heart attack, is you were actually fixing something minor, something small, but that small repair job has now turned into a 3-hour long quest which involves you getting onto Google and typing obscure search terms into Google, which may or may not lead you to a thread on RM Web. And of course you're reading through the pages of this one post from some guy who has a similar issue to what you're facing. And it doesn't matter what the issue is, because I can guarantee you it'll be the same for you. No matter what your issue is that you've got right now, someone else will have had it. But you won't be able to find the exact post for that issue. You'll find one similar to it. And you'll scroll through the posts, and then some random knobhead will jump in and go, I think you'll find actually if you do this, which doesn't actually serve. You fix a problem you've had, so it's now 3.5 hours long, and you're stressed, and you're reaching for the whiskey or the gin or the vodka or whatever, because you need something to numb the pain, numb the stress, and drown it out. Most relaxing hobby in the world. So eventually you decide to leave it, forget it, I'm going to bed, I've had enough for this. So you'll go to bed, and you'll be sat there, or laid there, because you don't sit up in bed, do you? Lie down. And you'll be laid there in bed, you're tossing and turning, and then about an hour into it, you're just about to fall asleep, and your brain will go, this is what's wrong. And you go, Eureka! And you can't leave it till morning, so of course you jump your bottom out of bed, trundle over to your mother railway layout, bang your toe on something, turn the light on, wake your missus up, you get shouted at by her, dog starts barking, it's now 11:30 at night. But you want to test out the stereo you have. And if you're very lucky, it'll work. And then you won't believe that you fixed it. You won't believe that for just 1 second, your looks come in and you think, Christ, I fixed this problem I've been having all night. I finally fixed it. So you'll then spend another half an hour, 45 minutes just testing it, just to make sure. And then, as you're about to go to bed, something else will go wrong. It can't just be me, can it? Am I alone in this, whose mother railway seems to be just cursed with problems, and it makes you think, why am I bothering with any of this? I spend a lot of money, and more importantly, I put a lot of time into this, and it just isn't working. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. What am I supposed to do? And then manufacturers come, by the way, our new Locomotive, by the way, is 400 quid. Like, cheers for that one, thanks lads, yeah, that's a week's wages for me. So, cheers, that's good. To you, not me, is it? It's not just me. Am I doing something wrong? Probably am. I'm sure there's someone else out there now going, what an absolute buffoon. He's quite clearly not checked the Viffer valve junction on his flagon box. And if I haven't, that's my fault. There we are. What is a flagon box anyway? Like a signal box maybe? Anyway, don't really matter. We've got this roughly on. I want to know, boys and girls, because this is the only reason I do this, is I want to know what you good folks are thinking. Have I lost the plot fully? Is it just me who's got a properly cursed, haunted mother railway? Or is it you lot as well? What are the problems that you always seem to come across when you just want to sit down and have a nice, relaxing running session or operating session, or just test your new locomotive out? What is the most common thing you find has gone wrong? One thing I don't come across though is having dirty track. I mean, it doesn't really affect me anymore because I use the legacy stuff from DCC Concepts. It's a really nice bit of kit actually, so I don't have to clean track. I don't have to worry about track being dirty. So there is that. But that's probably the only thing I don't have to worry about, is the track being clean and power getting through. I need to go to bed. This is terrible. Right, let me know what you're thinking, boys and girls. Leave some comments for me to read. I'll go through them all in my pyjamas. And if I like them, I'll give you a heart. And if I feel like it, I'll probably reply to some of them as well. Now, Gets is very soon, a couple of days away if this video goes out on time. I'm going to be there Saturday and Sunday. I'll be mooching around with the flat cap on and some other bits and pieces as well. So come and say hello, have a chat to me. Come and say, Craig, how you doing, lad? And I'm like, yeah, nice to see you, nice. If you're a manufacturer watching this and you think that I'm a dynamic young go-getter and I attract a lot of attention for what I do, then feel free to say so. Or don't, either way. I'm off to bed in a minute, so don't bother me. Right, I'm off now. Go on. See you later on. Bye. One last thing. It is too friggin' expensive.